So guys, a huge welcome to this particular property management mastermind, and great to have you here, and great to have our special guest, Vas. Vas, how are you?
I'm really well. How are you, Michael? How's everything been?
Yeah, well, lots of twists and turns as
Yeah,
we all know, and that emotional energy ride that I think that the property management part of the business has had in a
100%.
major way has been alive and well.
Yeah,
Vas is a fantastic friend of the network. His business, Core Property Management Consulting, I think is really doing lots of great things out there. And Vas, no doubt over the last few months, you've supported clients in a major way. So guys, as we go through this, we're going to hear from Vas some of the key learnings and insights that he's noticing clients either getting aha moments or key shifts. And importantly, what is it that those businesses are taking forward? What are some learnings we can take forward? Because we might have learned something about ourselves personally. Hey, that's a good learning. I want to take that learning forward. Or we might have learned something about us personally. We go, I'm not taking that learning forward. That's not such a good learning.
I'm going to leave that back there.
Yeah, way back there. And that's one of the models that I talk about a lot with our leaders, more so than the property management team, is the windscreen and the rear vision mirror.
Yeah,
so the
beautiful.
That size and the rear vision mirror is that size for a reason. If you had a windscreen that was the size of a rear vision mirror, it means we're always looking back and we only got a little view of the future.
Yeah.
It's sort of starting to shift that. And I don't know about you, but we're really focusing now on a lot of our planning typically is a calendar year.
Yeah.
So what's your plan for 2020? We're doing quite a big research at the moment, though, of doing financial year plans, but certainly with our members in the Australian marketplace, because it's sort of like that rear vision mirror and what's ahead of us. And whilst we don't have total clarity of what's ahead of us, it's useful to be thinking about, okay, line in the sand, what's next? Where are we going to from there? So look, thanks so much for being here. Your depth of understanding of property management, and I think as a consultant, the ability for you to see across a large number of businesses, it allows you to start to see patterns.
Yes.
Emerging with that. So thanks for being here. Thanks for contributing.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So Vas, why don't we get into it and just start by talking about what have you seen, sort of some of the key insights and learnings that have come out of the last few months? Yeah,
look, I think first and foremost, I really would love to sort of give everyone a bit of a clap and a congratulations, because it's certainly been an unprecedented challenge for the property management industry, and for any industry for that matter. But I think for a lot of us to be now what I think is on the other side of this, and starting to really now progress forward with what we've learned and what we're now going to activate within the businesses. It's been a challenging time, as we all recognise, but I think you all deserve a big clap and a big hug to be here. We as an industry, from what I saw at the very beginning, and to be blunt about it, I saw a bit of a chaos emerge, because we were trying to do the best in a bad situation, and we really didn't have any sort of guidelines or provisions provided to us by the localized state governments. So for a little while there, we sort of had to, do the best, and I won't use the words make it up as we go, but we did just have to use the framework that we had there and then to come to some sort of an agreement moving forward with a landlord and tenant if they were requesting rent relief. So, yes.
If I can jump in on that, I think property managers around Australia learned the art of flexibility. Because here's what we know today, or here's what we know tomorrow, or so it was this ongoing sort of release of information that was relevant around that. And that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing to take on board learning wise, isn't it?
100%. And to add to that, Michael, I think what property managers also learnt from this entire last 3 to 4 months, and I know that they'll take it forward with them, is really, and I know this is going to sound silly because we probably think we do this every day, but truly I think what we learned was the art of negotiation and actually communication. For us to have very strategic conversations with landlords about what are the best outcomes with their particular tenant, and how to navigate their particular circumstances, whether to talk about rent deferment, rent relief, whether to have the tenant pay back, whether to have the tenant just adjust the rent. All of those types of conversations, saw, I think, a lot of property managers needing to get really, really good at having strategic conversations. And for those that were sort of a little bit uncomfortable with having those conversations, it gave a great opportunity for those property managers to really, collaborate with their peers and their principals to have really good conversations with their landlords to get an outcome when it came to some really quite large requests from tenants. So yeah, flexibility is certainly one thing that I think a lot of property managers have learnt, but I think communication, I know that sounds silly because we talk about communication in property management every day, but I think it really has highlighted good communication, and it's also shown probably some of the gaps in where we can take on board how to be better at communicating, particularly with landlords and tenants.
Yeah, and look, there's a couple of points there that I think no doubt, there was firstly the care calls, and then they moved to value calls.
Yeah,
I love what you talked about there. It put the negotiation skills and the communication skills to the test.
Yeah.
Not only was the frequency there, but was the quality there. I love the way that you added the word strategic. So guys, one of the learnings coming out of this for you as a team would be to say, all right, where are we at from a negotiation point of view? And are there 3-5 things? There's some really cool tools on the knowledge base, by the way, to help you in that area. But I love, let's have a strategic conversation about this. And that in itself elevates the value of who you are as a property manager, which is super neat with that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw quite a number of business owners come to me and sort of say, Vas, I'm starting to feel, or starting to potentially feel, that owners are going to come to us and start asking for a management fee adjustment. What do we say in that instance? Because obviously they're being impacted by a tenant asking for rent relief, so they're going to want to cover the decrease in rent by probably asking for a decrease in management fee. Now, you and I both know that a rent decrease means that it will become a management fee decrease anyway. But I think one of the things that I have seen, and one of the things that I've spoken to business owners about, is particularly in a situation like COVID, it really has allowed us to demonstrate how invaluable we are to a landlord, particularly during this time. So our value is in the in-value proposition that we provide. The ability to speak to a landlord and sort of say, look, strategically, the tenant is asking for a $50 rent decrease or a $100 rent decrease. So we can either say no to that, but it might be that $100 rent decrease could very well be on an annual basis, the same amount of money that it will be to relet the property, remarket the property. Like, just having better conversations rather than sort of accepting what the tenant has said, and to be able to convey that to an owner in a controlled, a confident way, even though probably deep down we were so like, oh my God, what's going on? But to show confidence and strength and leadership to our clients right now and in the past, I think that's where our value proposition was and continues to be.
Yeah, yeah. And sort of it's that neat negotiation framework, what if you do, what if you don't? Let's have a look at the options here. So without being too attached to the outcome, here are the options. So
correct.
The outcome is we want to look after your property in the best possible way and support you getting the maximum return on the investment of your asset. That hasn't, and when you say that we haven't lost sight on that, let's have a look at the pathways here.
Yeah, beautifully
make this adjustment, boom, 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 or not. We could do this, which is going to actually give us the best outcome or the best direction there.
Yeah, I mean, I think also one of the biggest things that I've seen across the board with a lot of the clients that I've been working with over the last 3 months is the activation of change, and some of that change was forced upon clients and upon businesses in Australia. If I'm to speak from the heart for a moment, Michael, you and I and all of the people that I know that you've had at training sessions and conferences over the last 5 years, we've all spoken about the importance of using better marketing tools to showcase properties. And one of the biggest things was video and virtual tours. And of course, a lot of agencies and a lot of people come to those conferences, and it's the 80-20 rule. 80% sort of go, yeah, that's great, but we'll do it probably next year. And then 20% are the ones that only actually implement there and then. And so, all of a sudden we've got real estate agencies now doing virtual tours for rentals and floor plans for rentals and videos for rentals. But it was probably a change that was forced upon them. And, I think that's been a really good thing that's come out of COVID. And I know that sounds silly, but from a business point of view and looking, through that windscreen moving forward, I think that activation of change and now using, better marketing tools to showcase our properties that are available for lease. We might have thought about doing it in 12 months' time when we were at that conference 12 months ago, but now it's no choice. We have to do it because we had restrictions on us, and now that those restrictions are eased and are easing, we're like, well, yeah, it's probably the best way to go now. Let's continue doing videos. Let's continue doing virtual tours.
Yeah, and Vas, the biggest risk is, I think, and I've spoken with some property managers who said when things go back to normal, and
no,
let's recognise that there's a gift in here, and I've been known to call COVID commitment, opportunity, vision, innovation, and drive.
Yeah.
And when we start to look at those and bring those into place, it has tested our commitment to doing a great job. Where are the opportunities coming out of this that we're going to hold on to? What's the vision we have for our property management business, and how do we drive that forward? What innovation are we going to either put in place, or are we going to continue with what we've developed? And how do we actually drive this forward so our clients just know that we're in that proactive kind of a space. So great from I think the video and the access to information has become far more effective. Now, the impact that could have is there less people view a property, but the quality improves of those tenants who do view the property.
Yeah, I agreed. And just to speak on that for a second, I think, if anything, as much as COVID has allowed us to activate and implement technologies like video and virtual tours for rental properties, what I think it's also done is it's taken us back to the art of one of those really basic skills for property managers and leasing consultants and BDMs. It's to really ask better questions and to diagnose the client, whether they're a prospective tenant or a prospective landlord, because it wasn't like that we could, meet them for a coffee and have a chat, or just meet them at the property in 10 minutes time. It was, we had to be on the phone with the prospective tenant and qualify them and ask them questions to make sure that us going down and doing that private appointment was going to see a conversion. So, one of those basic skills that I think sometimes technology has given us a little bit of an easy way out. And don't take that the wrong way. I mean, I'm a total tech geek when it comes to property management, but I think sometimes technology can maybe not allow us to sharpen those skills, those basic skills of really speaking to prospective tenants and speaking to prospective landlords, because we know that we've got a system that can do it. And I think COVID really showed that we had to speak more to people in order to know that our time in going and showing a property was going to see an opportunity convert. So qualification and diagnosis of the client was something that I think we learned from COVID, and I hope now that basic skill now being sharpened, we take forward with us as we move more and more with landlords and tenants. One of the other things that I saw, and I really, again, property managers are going to be thinking, I didn't have time to do any of this, but as much as we were dealing with, rental relief requests left, right, and centre, routine inspections were probably switched off for a period of time. As much as we were dealing with quite a number of significant emails coming through or phone calls coming through, and genuinely people wanting help and relief, I think what it also allowed for senior management or business owners, together with the property managers, to do is to actually work on the business rather than, in the business. So, with no routines and possibly no open for inspections, meant that we had a little bit more time. Now, that time might have gone into rent relief requests, but it allowed for the opportunity to actually work on the business. And one of the biggest lessons that I see a lot of businesses sort of now thankful for is the fact that they've been able to digitize their processes. So rather than having, the traditional Word document checklist, because we weren't working in offices for the last couple of months, it's seen the digitization of those processes. So, a lot of clients that I'm working with have transformed all of their processes into a digital format using the likes of Airtable or Trello. And so that allowed for immediate collaboration on a remote scale for property managers to still do business, because we had one central dashboard of processes. We could see at any given time where things were at. People were working in different, different remote locations, but it still allowed for the vacate process to happen. It still allowed for the repair process to happen. It still allowed for lease sign-ups to happen. So I think digitization of the actual office has really I've seen a lot of momentum around that, and and finishing that off as we now start to move forward at the other side of COVID.
So that's one of the things I like with this, and many of them, you guys who are tuned in, I've got this sort of like belief of seeing business growth like up a series of steps. So this step in place, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. I think one of the challenges that some people do around working on the business versus working in it, the point you brought up before, is they can fall into the mode of, well, I've got so much to do, where do I start? As opposed to going, hang on, let's just calm down. And particularly, so we're moving into a different mode. By the way, we don't know what's going to happen, crystal ball with the JobKeeper and job seeker changes and so on.
Yeah.
So there could be a second economic wave as well as a second wave.
Yeah.
what's interesting with this is, if people pace it, and as teams, and I know you do a lot of facilitation work around this, but get together and say, okay, what are the three biggest things that we need to work on right now? Okay, the next quarter or the first quarter of the financial year, let's do one per month.
Yeah.
And build this and improve this and work on this. I think the biggest risk is we've got so many things we need to improve. Let's just keep doing it the way we've done it, as opposed to, hang on, just slow it down, take a breath. What's one we can work on? What's another one we can work on? What's another one we work on? So, you mentioned earlier on negotiation. Is it not a piece of tech we need to put in place? Is it actually improving the quality of the conversations we have?
Correct.
That's a cool one to do for a month.
Yeah.
Or is it that digitization? Let's actually focus on that, and even an aspect of that will actually start to move us in the right direction. Yeah, great. So if we do line in the sand and say, now what are your 3-5 biggest pieces of advice that you're going through in a consulting mode? And I know every business is unique. So,
yeah.
But are there 3 to 5 you say, okay, I'm focused on this, and this?
Yeah. So I think one of the things, and the sites now around, where we were to where we are now, is the realization that we don't have to be local. And I know that's going to probably sound a little bit silly when, most of us have offices in local suburbs, but, I think what COVID has shown us is the art of collaboration. And, I suppose what we're doing right now via Zoom is a testament to that, we don't necessarily need to be geographically around the corner from our next client or from our next tenant. So, the fact that we've got technology like Zoom and the likes of video tech like this means that, we can continue on the back of COVID to collaborate with new opportunities. And, just because a property doesn't necessarily, just because an owner of a property isn't living around the corner, it doesn't mean that we can't have a face-to-face. We can, because we're doing it now. And I think we were possibly a little bit uncomfortable with it before, but again, forced change has mean now a new opportunity for growth. And I'm now so comfortable having a Zoom meeting, as I'm sure all of you are now, and it's become a comfort and almost part of the new normal, that we can provide a service offering to clients that aren't necessarily around the corner. So we don't have to be fixed at the corner office anymore. We can really collaborate and communicate with everyone and anyone through the likes of technology like this. So
Vas, just on that, to jump in. So I love the don't have to be local. And look, some of the online models, their offices might be randomly anywhere, sort of located, and they're servicing the whole of Sydney, or the whole of that particular marketplace. And they're doing it via tech, as opposed to a lot of the time, and it's a great point you bring up, we've had a model to say, no, this is where our office is, this is where this is the market we serve, as opposed to, hang on, is it a type of client we serve, as opposed to an area we serve?
Yeah.
It's shifting more to the client than an area. I love it.
Yeah. And I can speak from experience from my own personal business. So, my model was very face-to-face. Every day I would be in a different client's office in a different part of Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane. And, that involved either being in the car or being on a plane. And now, throughout COVID, I've been able to service all of my clients, but from whatever location I wanted to do that, because I had Zoom. Now, please don't get me wrong. There's nothing like being in the presence of a human being, looking at them, getting a sense of their energy. But it shouldn't have allowed us or put up a limitation on how we could continue to move forward. And so, things like, as an example, bringing it back to property management, I knew a lot of businesses prior to COVID, there was a resistance to doing lease sign-ups virtually, or tenant inductions virtually, or having the lease agreement signed virtually. And there's been this fundamental shift now, and some businesses or some good businesses were doing this pre-COVID, but again, now post-COVID, it's becoming the new normal where we now do it virtually because it's shown us that we can. And it's not something that we can't do. It's more about that we can do it. It's just that we've now chosen to do it. And that brings efficiencies. It brings the ability to have deals being done quicker because we don't have to wait for a tenant to finish work or find a lunch break to come and do the lease sign up. Obviously, there's some physical components to property management that we won't ever get away from, like doing the ingoing, like the key collection. But even with key collections, one of the things that I heard during COVID in that first month was Bunnings being out of lock boxes because lock boxes were being used at all of these different vacant properties where the keys would be left there, or if a tenant was moving into a property during COVID and the restrictions, the ingoing condition report and the keys to the property were actually left in the lockbox. So again, all of these things. I feel that probably 90% of them, if not all of them, are now things that we probably should still continue to do, irrespective of COVID, because it's only going to allow us to do things better, to do things differently, but to do things more for the client. And I think that's ultimately what I've seen now, that we've had to be, again, a chameleon to the circumstances, the environment, and to the client over this last 3 months.
That's what I really like about what you're saying there. And it reminds me, we did a study tour to San Francisco last year and looked at some amazing agencies over there. And one of them, they had the keys at cafes in the markets that are around there. So they had actually effectively a lockbox capability at that particular location.
Yeah.
So the person did not need to come into the office. It was either meet at the cafe or grab your keys from the cafe, along those lines, because they're all over the place. So it's interesting when you start to think about it differently, and maybe one of the things to look at, guys, coming out of this conversation is, where are the friction points? Where's the clunkiness from a client point of view? And or from the business's point of view, and how could we tweak that and improve that? And Vas, I imagine you're seeing in this mode too a shift into more relationship management. One of the things I've said for a while is what we did wrong in calling it property management. We think about it, the property, we're managing the property. Actually, we're managing people and relationships, and the property's going along for the ride. So,
yeah, 100%. And just going back to that example, I had a business owner set up relationships with petrol stations in various key suburbs because their office and where they managed property was an hour away from where they were all physically located. So they shifted all of the keys to various locations, like a petrol station, like a cafe, for the tenants or tradespeople to go to those locations to collect keys. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, how does that work from a legislation point of view? All of that sort of stuff. In most cases, it does work, and it just showed the level of thinking outside the square that had to, quickly be adopted during a time like this. One of the other things, Michael, that I saw, and for those that are business owners online with us today, one of the things that I saw over the last 3 months was that a lot more business owners were involved in property management. They were quick to provide a level of support And that's not to take away from any of you to not say that there was no support before, but I think the support the support scale went straight up, because the pain points that the property managers were having were in the conversations they were having with landlords and tenants. And I saw, a lot of business owners be that pillar of strength for the property managers, helping them have conversations, and really, providing some different alternatives to having some of those conversations, because they were able to use their sales skills as selling principles, and help the property managers navigate negotiations. So,
I think Vas, this is a super important point, that sometimes I think, and look, most of the time in property management, where we find out there's issues with the portfolio when someone leaves, and all of a sudden things pop out under the carpet and all those sorts of things. Yeah. And a part of it is we've got to make it super safe to put your hand up and say, Houston, we have an issue here. Yeah. Not sure about this one. This is on the clunky side. I'm stuck here. And not go, oh, you're stuck there. Oh, what's wrong with you? Because as soon as that happens, I'll tend not to say that.
Yes.
And hold back from it. So that's the first little bit. The second bit is, as you're saying, having a second voice in a negotiation or another perspective is just so powerful. So sometimes it's getting out of the suffering in silence mode and saying, hey, I need a second voice here. And that being a valid strategy, not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength, being able to read the play and needing it.
Yeah, 100%. And, it was obvious that property managers were wanting some sort of support, because, I'm a member of all of the property management forums on Facebook, and I'm sure everyone is online here today, but one of the things that I think a lot of property managers saw over COVID and now moving forward to not take on board is the level of actual negativity that there was in all of this. I saw a lot of posts that were more derogatory towards a tenant now asking for more money or wanting this or wanting that, and I think, a lot of property managers had a bit of a light bulb moment and went, you know what, I don't want to participate in that paradigm. I really want to actually show compassion for what's going on with tenants and landlords. Don't get me wrong, guys, I've been in the trenches, and I've been in the trenches the last 3 months with some of my clients, seeing the requests and the reliefs. And I know I can comfortably say that there were some tenants that took opportunity of what was going on. But 80%, I have to say, would have been genuine cases. And I think the realization that we now need to show compassion rather than getting on a Facebook group and going, oh, you never guess, I got another one today. So I think one of the things that I've seen now more than ever is taking that level of compassion to the next level and turning it into and tuning that energy and really tuning it to being more relationship management with people rather than a property manager.
So what's great about those couple of points there is the reading the play. Some emotional intelligence in there too, where there's real empathy that we have for the clients. And the term that I know a lot of you on the Zoom will resonate with is we have a sensitive client on the phone. Now, Vas, I love the sensitive client. The reason why I love it so much is as soon as we move into, oh, this client is sensitive, I'm aware of that sensitivity. Rather than I've got someone who's moaning and bitching and they're wanting something that's totally unrealistic. No, they're actually sensitive. Yeah. So it allows for an approach that, if you were with someone at hospital, you're going to be really sensitive to their needs. So it's actually allowing that kind of mode to come through. Yeah, that's great. Any other things that you're wanting to do? Because we might actually jump into some breakout shortly. So any other key points you'd like to reinforce? And by the way, this has been fantastic, Vas. Really, really
glad.
good.
I'm glad, and it's been a pleasure to share. I mean, one of the things that that I've tried to do as much as I possibly could during this time, not only for my clients, but for the industry on the whole, was to provide any level of support that I could have possibly given. Now, I know sometimes our hands were tied at a state level because we just, the guidelines came, in my opinion, probably came a little bit too late to the party in how to deal with what we're now dealing with. But I think, one thing that I just want to say as a bit of a final comment is to, and we've spoken about this term before, is really the level of resilience that we've had to have and had to show our landlords and tenants that, this too shall pass, as that Persian proverb has been spoken about. To really be there with the client, taking the challenge, holding their hand through it, and seeing them through this, because if it's a challenge for you, it's going to be a greater challenge for them. And to be there with them on and through this journey, it's only going to be of benefit moving forward as we sort of see the other side of this.
That's great.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you heard, Math, one of our dogs, was agreeing with you.
Oh, good.
In that particular mode, so just a couple of little like woof-woofs in the background. So clearly a very good point.
Michael, and who would have thought, just a bit of a funny thing, who would have thought that the last 3 to 5 years, in all of the conferences and training sessions and, all of the industry hype that we've read and gone and heard, has all been around that disruption was going to be technological, and who would have thought that disruption was actually going to be biological? So
yes.
It's it really has, I think, opened all of our eyes, and I think it was a good thing in a silly sort of way that we now move forward with it, and we take the lessons and activate on those.
Yeah, great. And look, the only other thing that I think that you have in bucket loads is market knowledge and market intel. And I think one of the things that sometimes has happened, you can get that over the long term, but if you're new in property management, this has been an induction by a fire hose kind of thing, where it's like, okay, I'm learning a lot very, very fast. Well, I think that sort of like that compression learning is so critical to be able to have the confidence to have conversations, go through key points, and so on. Hey, Vas, it's been an absolute pleasure. Well, we're going to actually jump into a 5-minute breakout. In that 5-minute breakout, guys, 2 things I'd love you to do. Given what Vas has gone through and shared in terms of today, what are your 3 biggest learnings that have actually come out of this whole health and safety and economic issues? Your 3 biggest learnings personally. And what are the 3 things that you're taking with you the most? Okay. So the 3 upgrades, the 3 enhancements, the 3 things you're putting in place. So, and 2 things when we go into breakouts, I think, as you know, is 1, you need to join the breakout. And when you join the breakout, that's the first thing. And the second thing to do is to make sure you unmute your microphone so people can actually hear you. So join breakout, unmute microphones. Let's do a 5-minute, guys, brainstorm around this. A lot of people have said this is the part of the mastermind that actually consolidates the great things that Vas has just been through. So be in that particular mode. By the way, the other rule in breakout rooms is you've got to be positive. Only positive conversations. Ready, set, go. Breakout rooms are open. 5 minutes. Go ahead and join the breakout, guys. If I can see you, it means you're not in the breakout just yet. That email address again for Vas is, sorry, email address, web address is corepmc.com.au. Vas, I just want to really acknowledge the energy and effort you're putting in to the profession, and thanks for actually being a friend of the network and helping us navigate to the next level and to even better performance.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Round of applause for Vas. Hey. All right, guys.